Most e-commerce brands are running the exact same email marketing playbook, despite their brand's characteristics being completely different to any of the brands that they compare themselves to. As we know, a makeup brand and a furniture brand are not the same whatsoever. Different AOV, different LTV, different revenue model, different product buying cycles, yet everyone's following the exact same templates across their sign-up forms, flows, campaigns, and even their segmentation strategy. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build an email marketing system perfect for your brand archetype, the same way that we've been doing for brands who are doing over $1 million a month just from email marketing alone. If you get this right, you don't just make more revenue, you make far more profit and with less effort too. Let's get into it. So as you can see here, this is actually a mega presentation we made for an e-commerce mastermind that we were invited to speak at. And I want to show you guys exactly this process before we actually give you the exact live talk of myself and my business partner there going over all of the information here. So we're going to talk about the benefits of fitting retention strategy to your brand archetype, how it improves list growth, customer acquisition, incremental value and deliverability, and just makes a better experience overall. So quite often you will see blanket advice on YouTube or LinkedIn or other social media platforms that will say things like, never run sales or nurture long-term relationships with your customers. And then what you'll see is some of the biggest brands in the world in your inbox seem to be flying in the face of all of this advice. This is for good reason. This is due to their brand archetype, which should update how they approach lifecycle marketing through their email and SMS marketing channels, right? So what we're going to go through how the channel works for you based on your archetype, how to sort of define your archetype, what are the characteristics that go into defining an archetype so you'll understand exactly what your archetype is. And we're going to show you how you can drive list growth more profitably, make customer acquisition far easier through email marketing, and then make driving incremental value from each customer far easier too from email marketing, so you can get more contribution as well at the finish. In terms of the long-term value of people, you can get more contribution for people who would have been otherwise dead if you didn't understand which segments for you are valuable versus not. We're also going to be able to give people a better customer experience because we can pick and choose our moments to send what communication to what type of people, right? Like for an archetype such as Ridge, basically only once someone's purchased will we actually start to get pretty aggressive with them in terms of some of the offers that we'll send. So I'm going to go into what that archetype is and how you would define that soon. But yeah, this is the kind of what we're going to discuss today. So what you are doing right now, you probably have a 10% welcome offer. Your flows are probably 3 to 4 emails each. You probably send a couple of campaigns a week to the same segment every time. You maybe send the odd SMS here and there when you feel like it, right? Now, nothing is inherently wrong with that, right? It's better than you doing nothing with email marketing, but things can be so much better. So let's look at this and deconstruct the variables. 10% off. Why are we running that? Do we know why? Probably not. 3 email welcome series. Why? Why do we have a 3 email welcome series? Do we know that? Well, probably not. Again, 2 weekly campaigns. That's the right level of volume. Do we have other segments with more opportunity? Have we tried any other segments with more opportunity? SMS, do we have SMS phobia like so many brands do? Are we completely afraid of SMS marketing? This is something that we want to talk about too. You're probably thinking at this point, okay, fantastic. What exactly is a brand archetype though? How do I define my archetype? Because we keep using this word. A brand archetype is a category that your brand is in based on the following characteristics: purchase pattern characteristics, revenue model characteristics, product structure characteristics, their secondary defining characteristics, and then business performance indicators. I'm going to go over all these at a glance because I'm going to summarize it all at the end into the only key things that you need to know. Purchase pattern characteristics. What's our AOV? What's the frequency? What's the natural LTV? So this is really, really important because once again, we use the example of a makeup brand and a furniture brand. They're completely different in all of these categories. And this really affects how we do lifecycle marketing. Revenue model. Do we have let's say, are we mostly subscription based? Do we have, is most of our revenue coming from one-time or recurring purchases? Is most of our revenue coming from, one hero product? Or is it coming through a number of different products? That's very, very important to realize as well. That final bit, is this all generally coming from like a couple of core products, or is it coming from lots of different SKUs, right? Product structure, this should have been here, hero product dominance, category diversity, and then the life cycle. Secondary defining characteristics, these are sort of things that are more, they're not so much in like the data as such. They're not things that you can absolutely point to in terms of like your AOV is definitely $120. It's definitely not 90, right? So are we premium luxury? Are we not premium luxury? Are we complete opposite of that? Our market approach, our product characteristics, our purchase timing, fulfillment model. These are secondary. These aren't so much, once again, hard data points where you can say, okay, I know for a fact my AOV is $120. Then business performance indicators. What are we shooting for here, right? Like, do we need to be first order profitable? Do we need a lot of, customer service post-purchase? Generally, if you've a lot kind of higher AOV or you're selling custom products, you're going to have a lot of customer service requirements. Margin structure. Do we have great gross margins? And then also from that margin structure, not just from a gross margin percentage perspective, but from a monetary perspective. Yes, we could have 82% gross margins, but is our AOV $50 or is it $200? That's massively different, right? So our margin in percentage and monetary terms. right? So chunking all of this down, the things that you need to understand for your archetype are basically the product category, your AOV, purchase frequency, and then LTV. What I mean, this is kind of like the percentage of LTV that comes quickly after first purchase. We'll kind of explain this, right, in terms of, generally how much time that LTV is kind of realized in, right? So like your product category, let's say someone buys a desk from you. Are they going to buy a second desk? Well, just the natural, nature of things is that people generally don't buy two desks. AOV, the higher this is, you will generally see the repeat purchases become a little bit more difficult. Purchase frequency, like let's say if people are naturally going to purchase more of this item, how long does that typically take them to do, right? Like, do people need to purchase again in 2 weeks or in 2 months? LTV, this is going to be like from your own data in Shopify, what percentage of that comes quickly after the first purchase, which we'll go into. So 3 archetypes, and I'm going to give you tons of examples here on this, right? You have high AOV, low purchase frequency. You have low AOV, high purchase frequency. And then you have medium AOV, medium purchase frequency. So you can kind of see this like AOV and frequency these are kind of like the 2 main characteristics that we pull in here. But then of course, let's say a high AOV, low purchase frequency, if that's luxury, it's a far different ballgame than if it's more, not luxury, right? There are far more than 3, by the way, right? We have like 21 types we refer to internally with our clients. But yeah, these are kind of the 3 broad categories that you need to know, right? So first archetype, I'm going to go into examples of how we do this. High AOV, low purchase frequency. What makes this unique? Well, it's generally high margin from a monetary POV, but not from a gross margin percentage. So let's say you have 60% margins on a sofa versus 82% on a supplement. Your margin is, let's say 60% of $800 or pounds instead of 82% of 45. So you have here, even though you look at 60% and 82 and think, oh, wonderful, 82 is always better. You can see here we're looking at $480 versus $37 or pounds or euros or whatever. These are qualitatively different, right? So it's not just the percentage. We need to look at it monetarily. Here, upselling more of the same product is very rare. Like, it's very rare, right? So once again, if we take the sofa example, are you going to buy 2 4-seater couches for your house? Probably not. Probably not, unless you have an enormous house. We want to avoid offers that hurt margin, right? So we also need to get as much contribution as possible from past customers in the CRM, right? So we need to avoid giving up loads of margin on the front end, but we also need to grow our list massively, right? The key thing here is that we need to focus most of our time on list growth, is that we need to focus a lot on list growth, right? This all leads to us needing to view email marketing in the following way, which is that it's more of a CRO tool than an LTV tool. As such, we're going to put a ton more focus into growing our list. And from that point, looking to drive first purchases in the most profitable way possible. Once again, we need to grow our list really quickly, but we can't give up a lot of margin here because we don't generally have like as high a percentage as a supplement brand would. It's a tough circle to square, right? Then we also realize that people are far more likely to buy complementary products than they are to buy another of the same product, right? So the way we drive LTV is going to be by new releases and also through driving all of our focus to accessory products, not to main kind of hero products, right? So how we execute email marketing for these brands: no offer or very small offer on list growth, long educational flows. Also, the emails themselves will tend to be longer. There will tend to be more copy within the emails because a bit more pre-selling needs to be done for people before they go onto the website. Consistent high volume of educational campaigns. You'll generally be going all education here, all product education and things like that. We use campaigns and post-purchase flows to nurture plus sell complementary products, right? So we want to be able to get a 10% LTV increase within 30 days. If we can do that, we're flying, because you have to bear in mind here, AOV is going to be far higher. So even here, we have a 10% LTV increase. I mean, that could be like a $150 increase, because they could have purchased something at $1,500. Then once someone has lapsed, right? Once someone has lapsed and we think that the probability of them coming back is low, we get aggressive. With these people, we can send offers to them and it's completely fine because their probability of buying now is so low. So these are almost just free shots on goal. Let's say if you're in a higher AOV category and you're also in kind of more luxury positioning, you want to look at like, what's the time period where if someone hasn't purchased in this time, we think they're just gone, right? So let's say, generally speaking, this will be like 6 months for most people. This could be 8 though in your case, it could be 9. But at this point, if someone sees an offer and like 10% of the people who see an offer buy, I mean, it's like, I would rather you see an offer and buy than just get off the list and unsubscribe at some point and never buy, right? So for these people, I would be getting aggressive here. Even if you're in kind of more of luxury positioning, I wouldn't be afraid to get aggressive. So in high AOV, you're basically improving advertising efficiency without compromising margin. This is how this all kind of condenses down, right? This is really key on like part A here, right? Is it giving up 10% here on like an opt-in is treacherous. I mean, it really kills the margin of the business in general, because the first purchase is just where the majority of the value comes from that customer. So you're almost taking, if you have a 10% code, you're taking a 10% haircut off the whole business, which is something that you want to be very, very wary of doing. So high margin list growth. The offers we love here, right, are like a giveaway or a fixed monetary amount. So you could do like £50. I have this all in pounds because the event we were speaking at was in the UK. But like you could do £50, $50 off orders to 1,000 and above. So the max they can get is 5%, but they could spend $2,000. In that case, they get 2.5%. They could spend $3,000. In that point, which point they get? What's that? 1.66%, I think. So that's not so bad. Like if they get a 10% offer, it's like that scales. So they can get a huge amount off there. A giveaway, I mean, if this can work, it's our absolute favorite, because if we were to do, let's say you do like $500,000 through your welcome series in a given month and you're doing like 5% off, you're giving up 25 grand there, which is a lot. If you did a $1,000 giveaway there, you're giving up 1 grand in the month. Don't get me wrong, conversion could be worse, but like, once again, like the margin on the front end it's absolutely key. It's central to the whole business. So these are the offers that we love. If we use Aaliyah for basically all of our clients in this category, not an affiliate whatsoever. It's just an amazing tool. And that's what this is made with Aaliyah. The reason we like this as well is because you can give people kind of a short, like potent welcome series. I've spoken about Aaliyah on the channel before in 5 email marketing tactics we made $3 million with, that video that's there on the channel. But this really potent welcome series on the channel helps convert, or on the website helps people convert. Because like we said, we're trying to increase conversion without giving up any margin. Big thing here is if we can give people a really short, potent welcome series on the front end, well, I mean, we're flying. We're absolutely flying, because this is going to help people convert. It's going to help people learn more about the brand, and we're not giving up any extra margin. Beautiful. So if you're a store like this, I'd really, really advise checking out Aaliyah, because it helps you kind of square that circle in the beginning, which is you need to drive as much revenue on the front end and kind of drive as many email signups on the front end without giving up any margin. That's a tough one to square. That's a really, really tough one to square. So that helps you do that, right? So playbook and practice, right? So we have, 9% conversion rate on the opt-in, and then we have like long flows, which go all in on education and our unique positioning in the marketing, right? We then have really high campaign volume and new releases and events as often as possible. And the post-purchase flows go super hard on selling complementary products, in this space. So then there's a small item upsell too, where we kind of go from there, and we look to upsell people at full price into full items. You can see here this like really aggressive post-purchase flow that's split up by number of purchases. We're happy with, like, I'm so happy with this in a month. Like, I'm so happy seeing this, because this to me is qualitatively different revenue in this archetype. That to me is, I just view that as revenue that wouldn't have happened otherwise if we didn't go super aggressive with like selling complementary products here. And then here, this upsell when someone's bought, a very small product, to try and upsell them into buying a full price item. I'm so happy when I see these post-purchase flows getting super aggressive and us going really aggressive with the campaign cadence too. So you can see here, we want to have really strong list growth. We have long educational flows that give us lots of shots on goal. Not a 3 email welcome series. We're talking 7 or 8 email welcome series. High campaign volume, 4 or 5 a week. Genuinely speaking, 4 or 5 a week. Once someone's purchased, then we'll push them to buy complementary products, and then kind of we have upsell flows if someone's bought a small product. Once someone then has elapsed, if someone's outside of our 6-month buying cycle, we'll go hell for leather. If they see a 20% offer at them, really not that bothered really in many respects, because we're saving those for people that were already super profitable on the CRM. That person could be responsible for $1,000 in profit to the business. Let's say they're not going to buy again unless we get aggressive. Are we happy to get let's say another $150 in profit, even if just with this small group of people that were okay, but maybe letting the brand positioning slip a little bit just with this group of people? Look, I would personally take that trade all day long, because you're not going to have the revenue otherwise. You may as well try and get as much value from this pocket of people as you possibly can. So 10% offer kills margins. All of the above is just designed to aid CRO without giving up much margin. And we can see £1.3 million in a month in email marketing. When you understand how things should work for your archetype, is pretty incredible. We can see that flows and campaigns are pretty level here as well, which you kind of would see. Well, I think campaigns are performing really strong here. You generally see flows would kind of skew a bit here, where they maybe be with like 70% of the revenue. This is pretty 50-50. Don't be afraid to go for higher campaign volume too. The second archetype is nearly the polar opposite of this, right? This is low AOV, high purchase frequency. So what makes this archetype unique? Well, it's generally high margin from a percentage POV, but not a monetary POV. It's the inverse of the high AOV, low LTV brands. So just think CPG here. Your CBD brands, your fragrance brands, your skincare brands, these sorts of brands, generally 75% plus gross margins, just a low AOV, generally speaking, right? So once again, we could have 80% or 85% gross margins, and you think, oh my God, that's incredible, but then AOV could be $45. And you kind of realize that there are pros and cons to each archetype in each business, and every business is very unique. And you're starting to see here, probably like I said in the beginning of the video, how unique every brand is in and of itself. So hot take here, cross-selling basically never happens in CPG. People basically buy more of the same. They'll find one product that they like, and if they're coming back to your store quite frequently, it's because they have one, maybe max 2 products that they really enjoy buying. If you have a skincare brand, fragrance brand, or what have you, if you look at your most valuable customers, they're generally buying mostly the same thing. Here, offers aren't the end of the world due to the higher propensity to rebuy. They just have to be done the same way. And this is kind of a broad thing I'd like to teach you guys on this channel in the coming months, because I'm going to be going deep into this archetype stuff in general. Is just when you're doing offers, it just depends on the archetype. It has to be done the right way. So here you're looking to drive efficiency on first purchases, but mainly you're looking to get second purchases. And ultimately the North Star is get people into your subscription program, right? So this is an LTV tool here, just not exactly how you think of it. We just drive the first purchase really quickly. An offer is not the end of the world here. Keep the bulk of our customer file engaged and opening, split flows based on new non-customer and returning customer, and selectively use offers for our lapsed profiles. Once someone buys, our ultimate goal is to get them to subscribe. You can see here, this is a little bit more complex than other archetypes, but also the propensity for people to buy multiple times here is far, far higher than in other archetypes. So with one of our brands, we run a $20 off offer on the front end, which has a 33.7% opt-in rate. That is not a typo. This is that Aaliyah tool again. I probably sound the biggest shill in the world, but we are not affiliates. It's just an amazing tool. We thought this was high, but the client said, look, we want to stick to 20. We were like, okay, cool. We'll keep it there. These flows get long and they use a lot of urgency at the end. This is on 1 day click attribution, by the way, this 25%, from Klaviyo. If we were doing typical 5-in-1 attribution Klaviyo, I think this would probably be closer to 50%. But the most important thing is to nail the first 2 conversions, to drive the first conversion as quick as possible and the second conversion as quick as possible. Then once people buy, our aim within 30 days is to try and get them to subscribe or have a second purchase. We can get them to subscribe. That is huge, right? And the goal here is to sell more of the same and not to put a lot of focus into cross-selling, which is typically more difficult. And you can see this playbook's working pretty well. Doing $1 million a month from email, I will accept. So after people's first purchase, we send them consistent communication. When I say this, we actually kind of beat them over the head a little bit with communication, trying to get them into subscription. We have 10 subscription flows actually live in their Klaviyo, and we keep reminding people of what they could save in our subscription program, right? So we keep reminding them post-purchase 1, post-purchase 2 in campaigns all the time with all of our RC people. We're always letting them know about subscription. $1.86 million a month from subscription. That's, God, wish this was my business, pretty crazy stuff. Once subscribed, in order to keep people there, we have progressive rewards, such as every 6th order being free. So you can typically, avoid that valley of death at kind of the 2 to 3 months mark that a lot of brands have with their subscription program. Don't get me wrong, there's always going to be a little bit of annoyance with the subscription program where you're going to have those people who sign up for 1 month and then insta churn. And that is just, it's going to happen. But, if we can get our retention out here to 6 months and your customer acquisition is pretty profitable, I mean, you're just going to have a fabulous business. You're going to have a really, really profitable business that a lot of people are going to be envious of. Once people are subscribed, we keep communication down to a bare minimum. So we use like this $20 off code. We hammer them with like a 7 email welcome series. It gets quite urgent towards the end. Your offer is expiring, this sort of a thing. Same thing with our abandonment flows. Once they purchase, we nurture them. We let them know about how to use their products safely, because it's a CBD brand, and how to use products, whether it's for stress, for anxiety, for for injuries that they might have, and so on. And then once they've had a good first experience, we're pushing them back to buy again, and we're always letting our people know who aren't subscribed. We're always letting them know about the benefits that they could have if they subscribed. We just keep hitting them with that. I want to talk about sales here and running offers for CPG brands, because it's way different to any other brand out there. We run a sale with them once every 3 to 4 months with a couple of aims. Drive an enormous wave of new customer acquisition, disproportionately profitable customer acquisition, because we have this huge event going on that we can put in all of the ads and in all of the email leads that we've built up who haven't yet purchased. Let's say in the last 3 months, we'll have a lot of people who've been on the list, that kind of time, and haven't purchased. Maybe they're waiting for the time to purchase. And we can also drive a ton of repeat orders. And for our best people, we can ideally drive multiple orders in the one sale. And this does happen. I'm going to show you some data here on this. Retention for this brand is like often driven in the revenue peaks. They might get an offer, yes, but if they spend $250 with you on 2 separate orders, it softens the blow. And I mean $250 within the same sale. So like, I'm going to show you this, like a decent percentage of people in Black Friday purchased twice. And some of these people we looked at spent like $500. Bear in mind, AOV here is like $80. So pretty crazy stuff. So now look at this, the nice slide in transition, absolutely beautiful. We can sacrifice a bit of margin, right? Because we know that once someone is subscribed, we can get like 5 months of retention out of them. So we can see here, this opt-in here with Aaliyah. By the way, we split this out by all of their different kind of categories. If someone's here for stress, for longevity, for anxiety, for whatever it might be. But yeah, I'm going to go through this sale here quickly just to show you how we do this for the revenue peak of all revenue peaks. So we do multiple daily campaigns for this archetype during revenue peaks, which is now our standard practice for CPG sales. You can still avoid about spamming people with clever segmentation. And daily Klaviyo is looking like this. I mean, here's like November 29th and 30th. You can see December 2nd. Cyber Monday was in December last year. So you can see it was just kind of a weird time. I think Cyber Monday was December 2nd. I'm pretty sure. I think Black Friday was November 28th. That'd be 29, 30. No, it would have been December 1st would have been Cyber Monday. So unless Black Friday was November 29th. But yeah, I mean, we were hammering emails here, right? And we can see here, we followed this kind of cadence where you see 90 day, then 30 day, then 30 day, then 14 day. But we're excluding all the people who've opened in the last 6 hours and purchasers in the last 2 days. So you can see here, once someone's purchased and they've gotten a thank you email and stuff like that, they go back into the cadence. We were just like, screw it. I mean, like, they're the best offers of the year. Why not tell people about them again? So this would be a unique email here in the morning. Then this would be a resend. Then this would be a plain text email, and this would be a resend of the plain text, right? So we're getting this really, really aggressive cadence going. Then, as you can see here, this sending cadence, our goal was to hit 900K in the month of November. I'm going to show you we actually crushed that. Or sorry, goal was hit 600K I know I've spoiled it for you, but we're going to hit 600K in the month of November. But we can see in 1 week on 1 day attribution, we did 337K. Half of that, over half that came on the weekend came over Cyber Weekend, 186K. So you can see here, like, you would never do this for a furniture brand, because once again, no one's going to buy 2 sofas in the same period of time. Once in this sale, once someone's purchased, you were chill for the rest of the time. I'll try and send you some complimentary products, don't get me wrong, but we're not going to hammer you with emails, like we would there. But you can see here, no one there is getting 4 emails a day, right? But we just want to, in this period of time on Black Friday, we just want to maximize our chances of being in the inbox when they open. Like, just when they open their email, we want to maximize our opportunity of being near the top. We do that by doing multiple sends a day. But once again, if someone's opened in the last 6 hours, any email that we have, they're not going to get spammed with the next one, right? And then also the reason we go with smaller segments, so from like 180 to 30 to 30 to, or sorry, from 90 to 30 to 30 to 14 day engage, is to keep the open rates constant. We don't want the open rates to plummet as a percentage, because it can harm our deliverability. We want to keep them all at kind of 50%-ish, 40, 50%-ish, all the way up. So that's why we go from our kind of lesser engaged to most engaged in that period of time, so that we can keep our deliverability really, really strong. Yes, we're mailing less people, but we need to be sensible when we're following such an aggressive strategy like this too. So look at this. Goal was 600K, 1 day click attribution. We did 958. And you can see here, so new purchasers and who've purchased since. So FCM new customers, nearly half, over a third of these have purchased since Black Friday, as we can see. So we take all of our customers here. Of all the people who purchased in Black Friday, look, nearly 10% of them bought twice. And like some of these, like a lot of these bought 3 times. So we can see here, these are all the people that we acquired. And like, look how many of these we got to come back. That's not far off half. It's like 40% of people we got to come back. And it's pretty crazy. Like, look at this, for like people buying multiple times within this date. Like some of these bought 3, 4, 5 times. Crazy stuff, right? So different archetypes, different solutions. So the final archetype that we're going to go into today is medium AOV, medium purchase frequency. What makes this archetype unique? Well, it's kind of in the middle of the two. Strong margins, but not CPG margins. Lower purchase frequency, but not as low as furniture. Cross-selling can and does happen. Offers are a good weapon, used the right way. There's one main meta strategy that drives LTV and new customer acquisition at the same time. It's just probably not what you think. So here, email is as much of a CRO tool as it is an LTV tool. So this is not a client. The last 2 brands I showed are clients, but I just wanted to show Ridge wallets because they potentially run like lifecycle marketing the best out of any brand I've seen in this category. And you'll see they kind of fly in the face of like a lot of the advice that you'll see online, right? So here, really high margin list growth. I would guess the COGS in this $29 cash tray are maybe $2 potentially, or maybe 3, 4 max. But you can see here, this is going to be really, really high margin list growth. Then when you sign up, right? And this is, I think, oh, look at this. Sliding in, beautiful. Then once you sign up, everything goes towards their bestsellers. Why do they do this? Why does a brand like this do this? Well, if you're in this category, you probably have quite a high SKU count. If you have a high SKU count, people get confused. In order to reduce the confusion, tell them to buy what other people buy. Really, really easy to do. This helps people purchase. I actually have a Ridge wallet, and it was one of those emails where I was like, okay, well, like there are like 400 wallets on this website. What am I going to buy personally? And that's just really good. You'll see them do that throughout their welcome series. You'll see them do it throughout their campaigns when you haven't yet purchased. And this is really key. If you have a high SKU count, lean on your bestsellers, because you understand your product range very well. You created your product range ultimately, but do not expect other people to understand everything at a glance, right? They're going to look at your website and they're going to be like, where do I even start? It can actually be overwhelming. They really like the general vibe of your website. They really like the general vibe of the brand, but they don't know exactly which product to buy. It does get confusing when SKU count's really high. So make sure you lean on your bestsellers as much as possible. It just helps reduce confusion for people overall, right? Now, once you purchase here, right? So they'll have fairly aggressive flows, but they don't really go too aggressive on on any kind of margin that they'll give up there. Maybe they'll do a 10% in abandoned checkout, but that's about it. When you purchase, this is what I noticed once I purchased, they ran really short sales all the time on like specific SKUs. And in my head, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. It wasn't like, a brand wide sale that maybe, could like reduce brand perception or anything like that. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like they're kind of trying to sell me kind of products that would kind of fit out the rest of the range. So like trying to sell me, key holders, or trying to sell me pens, or trying to sell me kind of other accessories after I'd purchased a wallet. But then also what I noticed is that wallets are kind of one of these things as well, where it's like, who buys two wallets, right? And really, who buys wallets frequently, right? Like as in so many people, you'll actually see this in Ridge's marketing as well. They have a crusty old wallet from like 15 years ago that they still use. And like they're kind of still haven't kind of upgraded something a bit more thin and sleek. But you'll see here, I would guess here that they have many people who have lots of different styles of wallets and like to mix and match and like to, use different wallets from time to time, depending on even like their outfits and stuff like that. Because I think here, a lot of people purchase here. So specific sales often just to existing customers. I didn't get any sale offer. I've been on their list for a while. Before I'd purchased, I didn't really get any sales bar Black Friday, right? So you can use these offers just to drive incremental value from people who've purchased and generate kind of more lapsed people, right? You'll also see here, with a lot of their sales and things like that, they use a lot of plain text. This is something that's really effective for your sales, just to give it kind of a new lease of life to the messaging. So not really changing the message as such, but changing the medium through which the message is given. We see here, like these emails are really nicely executed. These are some really nicely executed plain text emails, and it breaks up the monotony. If you have a sale that's running 4 or 5 days, you want to communicate with people a number of times in that period. Look at these. I actually saved these back in July last year because I thought they were such brilliant emails. And I might be doing a plain text specific YouTube video here as well soon. And then look here, post-purchase one. I mean, this was like 2 days after I purchased. If I could, this is something I really wanted to say at the event that I was at, because it was full of D2C brand owners. If I could update one belief in every single D2C brand owner and any brand owner that watches this, it would be about the time period in which the majority of LTV is realized. Over 50% of post-purchase one LTV will come in the first 90 days. Do what you will with that information, namely become a bit more aggressive post-purchase, because that's when the majority of value is realized. What I mean by this, just to kind of explain what I mean a bit more, is that let's say your monetary LTV is $200, and let's say your AOV is 110. So let's just say that breaks down to someone making a $110 order and a $90 order, or let's say two $45 orders for ease. Of that $90 remaining in the LTV to be realized, more than 50% of that is to say more than $45 of that will be realized within the first 90 days after someone's purchased. So broadly speaking, what I would like to say to a lot of D2C brand owners is, don't be afraid to be a little bit more aggressive post-purchase. Just don't be afraid of that, because it's when people are most engaged, if people have just had a good experience with the product, in a short period of time, they'll be like, yeah, sure, I would love to learn a little bit more. Even I was saying to people in the room, I mean, quite often people forget to buy other things that they wanted to buy at the time, especially if you have a broader product range. So many times I've gone onto Amazon and I made a purchase and I'm like, oh, remember that one thing I wanted to buy as well. And then what happens is that same thing happens a couple of times and I wind up making 4 orders in like 40 minutes. This can happen. So don't be afraid to get a little bit more aggressive early on. So you can see here, yeah, they come in with a number of emails very early on. Now, the meta strategy I was talking about that drives a ton of LTV is that they're releasing new products like every week. This is not a hack. This is not something I'm saying to you that's like, oh, here's this one hack, just massively increase operational complexity by releasing products all the time. I know this is not a hack as such, but it's just, you'll see in this product category, and I would put Gymshark in this product category as well, you'll see in athleisure wear and all this kind of a thing. New product releases are how they drive LTV. Broadly speaking, it's the biggest thing that they do is that they have new product releases going all the time, just all the time. New power banks, new MagSafe wallets and phone cases, new leather wallets, I think this was actually the email that got me to buy, because I got a black leather wallet from Ridge. Really good products as well. Then you can see here, look at these kind of unique collections. Like this, to me, my hunch is that they have a number of people in the CRM that actually have like 10 Ridge wallets and mix and match for different occasions. Those people definitely exist. I would say you might have some people who, I don't know, they're feeling a little bit fruity someday, and they want to use a Kintsugi, white and gold lightning kind of wallet. They're feeling a little bit different on the day, So like these product releases, like you'll see with Gymshark as well, they're just releasing products all the time. And if you guys, if you have a brand in this archetype, I mean, you'll just see this rising tide with all of the, with all of your life cycle marketing. If you can release a new product every month or even every quarter, I mean, you'll just see this huge wave in LTV come on. Like it'll be a lot of people who have purchased before who'll buy. This will also drive new customer acquisition, don't get me wrong, because people might be wanting to buy and then they're like, it's not really anything that fully feels like the perfect purchase for me. And then they see a unique design and they're like, oh, cool, like this is exactly perfect for me. So new product releases drive a huge wave of customer acquisition and more repeat revenue from the CRM. CRM. If you can orient your organization towards being able to do this, at a minimum once a quarter, but if you can do it once a month, if you can do it once a week, you're gonna make a lot of money. So that is the whole presentation. It was a lot to take in. So I'm going to give you a quick refresher. Your brand's archetype is extremely important how you approach retention marketing. It's one of the most important things, in fact. Your archetype is decided by a few key factors, like your product category, your AOV, your purchase frequency, and the natural LTV of your category. I know you guys now, after all the examples, will definitely be able to understand this a lot clearer. We went through 3 core archetypes, though there are many more. So high AOV, low frequency, low AOV, high frequency, and then medium AOV, medium frequency. So if you've been wondering why your email results feel flat, even though you've been doing all the right things, now you know why. The best brands don't guess their way to their business model or their retention marketing model. They build the model around their business. If you want more help building out this system, you can reach out through the link in the description. If you want to learn even more about all of these archetypes in the coming weeks, you can subscribe to the channel. Finally, your brand archetype is just one portion of the whole puzzle of your email marketing channel. If you want to go through a full 5-hour course that we made with some extremely quality content full of examples just like this, you can click this video right here. I'll see you soon.